Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. The man who murdered 4 University of Idaho students in 2022 was sentenced today to life in prison without parole. Bryan Kohberger received a life sentence for each murder. That's on top of the 10-year sentence for burglary. The 30-year-old will also be required to pay fines and civil penalties to the victims' families. Kohberger declined to speak or provide any insight into his motive. Earlier this month, he pleaded guilty to the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Carol D. And Ethan Chapin. The plea deal spared him a trial and the death penalty. Kohberger, a criminology PhD student, brutally killed the 4 friends at their home in Idaho nearly 3 years ago. Surveillance footage placed his car near the house around the time of the murders. 6 weeks later, he was arrested at his parents' Pennsylvania home. Several of the victims' family members spoke at today's sentencing hearing.
You tried to break our community apart. You tried to plant fear. You tried to divide us. You failed. Instead, your actions have united everyone in their disgust for you.
Xana deserved more. They all did. I'm a fighter, just like Xana. And you don't get to control how I move forward.
Evil does not deserve our time and attention. We are done being victims. We are taking back our lives.
My sister Kaylee and her best friend Maddie were not yours to take. They were not yours to study, to stalk, or to silence.
CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez has been covering this story all day and joins us from Boise, Idaho. Andres, the judge got quite emotional while reading his sentencing statement, saying regardless of his guilty plea that Kohberger has not expressed any remorse for his crimes. We saw him sitting stoically in court. Some of the victims' families and friends had been split over whether he should have been given a plea at all. What are the families saying tonight?
Well, Jerika, some families during that raw emotional testimony cried. Others ended up bursting into applause when the judge ended up announcing the official life charges that he'll be facing in prison. Steve Gonzalez, the father of Kaylee Gonzalez, ended up staring down Kohberger and called him a complete joke. And when Maddie Mogen's relatives ended up addressing the court, they let them know that this plea hearing agreement is what they wanted. It essentially will help them heal and prevent them from reliving the trauma that they had to endure today. In giving that testimony, Judge Hippler, as you said, did choke up, saying that the parents brought their kids to college in moving boxes and had to take him home in hearses. Overall, there is some relief given that Kohberger will spend the rest of his life in prison, but he was given that one shot to address the court, to express remorse, to apologize to these families, to perhaps explain why he did this, but chose not to do so.
After the sentencing hearing, investigators revealed even more information about Kohberger's background prior to the murders, including that he had no social media connection to these victims. Any answers about a motive, and also what one parent had to say about that very question?
Yeah, right now they don't believe that there was they believe that the house was chosen for a particular reason, but they haven't figured out what that reason is. Kohberger's background, according to law enforcement in that news conference, said that there is no violent record, and he just showed a deep interest in criminology, which leaves detectives here with more questions than answers. There are going to be thousands of documents that are going to be released, made publicly now that this sentencing hearing is complete. They had been sealed to preserve the integrity of the case, but now that the sentencing is over, they'll be releasing those. The first batch came out tonight, and to give you a sense of how high profile this is, the website that is hosting those documents ended up crashing this afternoon.
Wow, and we heard a lot of emotional testimony from the 2 other surviving roommates for the first time since the murders. What did they have to say?
Well, Bethany Funke, one of the relatives, she was too emotional to even speak, so she had her best friend, Emily Alante, give that statement in which she says that she is experiencing survivor's guilt. Essentially, why didn't she call 911, and wishes she would have called 911 sooner. She says she hasn't slept a full night since the murders. And then Dylan Mortensen, the other roommate who survived, described crippling panic attacks and called Kohberger a hollow vessel. Take a listen.
What happened that night changed everything. He took away my ability to trust the world around me. What he did shattered me in places I didn't know could break.
Yeah, just as
And
sad.
those words essentially, absolutely, those words ended up, Derica, bringing so many people in court to tears, and just ends up underlying how emotional this was for this particular victim and how a lot of people still nearly 3 years later are grieving.
All right, Andres Gutierrez, thank you for your coverage.